You ready?
No.
No. Hey everyone, I'm Shane.
I'm Ryan.
We're founders at Aviate Audio, and this is Beyond the Board. Today we're going to be talking about a conversation we've been having a long time.
It's a contentious debate.
And that is the place of multi-effects for the future of guitar playing, which we care about so much. Here's the question. Is multi-effects a replacement to pedals or an addition to pedals? You know, where is it best suited? We see it both ways, but we're going to give you our personal take.
Yeah. I think as an industry, we've kind of come to terms with, like, digital has arrived. You know, like, I feel like the debate now isn't, like, digital versus analog, although I feel like you can still have that debate. But really, at this point, there's no, like, the blind tests don't even mean much anymore.
It's undeniable. I agree.
It's arrived, so.
Totally agree.
But we're diving a little deeper here, like, multi-effects boards like the Helix or the Boss GT series or the Kemper Stage even is a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Those are meant to just replace your entire pedal board in general. And I mean, I guess there's still some sort of integration there, but mostly it's just a pedal board replacement. But then they got a little smaller multi-effects, like smaller multi-effects pedals, like the Line 6 M series, the M5.
Yeah.
Anything like that, or like one of those little Eventide pedals, the H9.
We're kind of towing the line between, you know, having products that can replace your whole pedal board. Like, you know, I know with the bigger products like the Line 6 Helix, like the larger size ones, you can add your pedal boards to it, but for the most part, and this is just my opinion, I mostly just see that as a pedal board replacement. Like, sure, you can connect your pedals to it, but I don't know if that's really the intended experience or the best way to use it. I think, you know, the way I would use it would be as a replacement to my pedal board.
Yeah.
But then you have these other products that are kind of like digital boutique pedals that kind of just do one algorithm at a time. Some like really high-end ones, I believe, like similar to what Strymon does, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're also just pedals that you don't even know are digital that are digital.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like some of the Keeley stuff is something that comes to mind where it's like in an analog package. But I think the pinnacle of what people are doing now with having a multi-effects unit as like the brain, like the control center for the rest of your pedals, like the HX Stomp. Like people are using that to send MIDI messages to their other pedals and do cab sim and a bunch of other things, but they still have their pedal board there. So I think that kind of is like the halfway ground even.
So where do we go from here? Is it going to kind of be both or one way or the other?
Well, you know where I stand on this, but I want to hear your take first.
Okay. So, you know, for me and for my dollar, if I were to go into one of these units, like the premium DSP products, I think I would just ship the whole pedal board experience for that, because you can connect everything together digitally inside of there, and everything sounds really great and it works together well. So I'm kind of a fan of just simplifying the experience with digital and just leaving out the headache of ripping apart your pedal board and putting it back together again and then ripping it apart again. Now, I know some people love that and some people are just, you know, that kind of crazy. Are you the kind of person that likes to rip your pedal board apart? How many times a month do you do that? I know for me, it's a pain every time I have to change a single pedal out. So I kind of like the idea of just having it be a more refined experience that you can have just from one source.
Yeah, I definitely see the merit in that for sure. A lot of these that are all integrated and are like a big board replacement, all the effects that there are made by the one company, and they're all meant to kind of go together, and they have support for that, and it's just kind of one central system that you have to worry about. And then you don't have to worry about thinking about what's the next pedal that I'm going to buy, or like,
I guess not.
How is this pedal going to fit on my board, or do I need a new power supply to get this new pedal in?
I mean, and partially this comes from the way I was raised up as a guitar player, because I didn't start off down the route of getting a distortion pedal and then adding chains from there. My first real kind of amp was this Line 6 amp The
This
right here, the Spider Valve HD 100.
It's a Bogner amp.
It's with the
like a
Bogner amp.
hybrid thing.
And man, it sounds awesome, and it's got all these cool effects in it. And so after I got that amp, I picked up this monstrous floorboard, and it just controlled everything in the amp for me. So
It hooks
this
up with an Ethernet.
it hooks up with an Ethernet cable to my amp, and it just controls everything from right from here. So I was kind of used to that curated experience where everything was just kind of, I was limited in some ways, but it was very flexible. And I liked this.
Yeah.
This was a pedal board. This is the pedal board the way I saw a pedal board.
Yeah, and it still works, and it stood the test of time after all these years.
Yeah, I still use it, and I have a regular pedal board now. I've gone through different iterations of over the years, but I still find myself going back to stuff like this, and then looking at the new products that are really defining multi-effects and wondering, do we go and continue like that, or do we meld it in with the pedal experience? And I guess it can really just go both ways, and it really depends on who you are.
Do you miss the funky pedal art with that thing? Does it look sterile? It looks kind of sterile.
It seems a little bit, because you don't get the character that each pedal brings, and that's something I value. What do you got right there?
EQD Palisades.
So
this is kind of like a bunch of distortion pedals at one. It's like a modded screamer.
Let's take a look at the art. And this is my Palisades pedal. I got this because it reminds me of where I grew up in the Hudson Valley, where there's Palisades. So I was like, that reminds me of home. Yeah, I just don't get that from like the Line 6 Helix. It doesn't give me nostalgia. It doesn't give you the feeling that you get when you like smell a dusty old pedal, So there's that to be missed.
Yeah.
Well, what about you?
Well, I kind of started with, classic like fuzz pedal, wah pedal combo, and then it starts becoming an addiction. You're just like, oh, I want this new sound. What am I gonna do? I basically started with just pedals on the floor. Then my dad made me like a little wooden pedal board, and now I have like a giant power supply and way too many pedals, and it's a never-ending thing. But I will say, tearing them up off my board and trying to replace them, making sure they have the correct power that they need, especially the digital ones are extremely power hungry. It takes like 2 hours to do like a full reimagining of my board. It's quite a process, especially if you want it to be clean. Like sometimes I just go out and it's just a mess, and I'm like praying that nothing gets unplugged or it works.
Wow. 2 hours, huh? So is Ryan doing something wrong? Maybe he needs some tips.
Probably. There's definitely.
You made a really good Airpatch pedal board on one of our YouTube videos, and it looked like you whipped that thing together in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that was more of a fly board. That's like one rail.
Right.
My board at home's got 3. I got a huge Walrus Audio power supply.
Hey, don't give away too much. We might take a tour of Ryan's pedal board.
It's silly.
Yeah.
It's silly. Sometimes I'm like, why do I have this many pedals? But then I do like a cool sound with one of them. I'm like, this is sick. I'm glad I have this pedal.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we want to keep exploring this theme and bringing in more pedal perspectives.
Yeah. I think, would you guys want if we brought like a bunch of musicians on the show and asked them what their thoughts are on their pedal board and their pedal board journey? Like where did you start from? How did you get to where you are now?
Yeah, not just the pedal board you're on right now, but the story that got you to where you're at.
The story is almost more important than the thing in the end.
Yeah, like my origin story as a guitar player that was using just all this onboard amp stuff that really influenced the way I see gear.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the more traditional pedal experience that came later for me.
I want to dive into someone who's like a power Helix user or something like that, who's like really into the.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Like what do they think about that compared to a previous experience using a regular pedal board, and what do you miss?
I really like. I think I've never been opposed to digital. I've always had a multi-effects on my board. I had the Line 6 M5, which is very similar to that, but it's got 100 effects, and it's like a Swiss Army knife. Like, oh, I don't have that pedal, so I'll use a sound from this thing, and I just used it as my. If you're covering songs and it's got some sound that you don't have, that's a great way to get that, and it sounded great, so there's no problem there. But now they got the HX Stomp, and people are making these custom boards now that are centric around the HX Stomp, and they use it as like the pedal board brain. They used it to control the rest of their pedals, and I think that's cool. That's the coolest thing for me.
I like that quite a lot. And it's kind of like the evolution of where you started. And I totally agree with what you said. I think we're now really past the debate for, analog versus digital, but now we're thinking more along the lines of, where does the analog experience stand out? Where do you get the most out of that? And then what's the place for digital going forward?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we got some ideas for that.
So, we're just here to ask the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, if you have any thoughts, weigh in. Let us know where you think digital best suits your guitar playing experience. And we'll keep our ears peeled, and maybe we'll bring some new people on to share their perspectives as well.
Sounds good. All right. This is Beyond the Board.